Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, happy birthday to America. Today is Wednesday, July 3rd. We're going to be doing a 6-month report, just kind of recapping what happened the first half of this year, giving you an idea of what, some major points, things that we're looking at going into the second half of the year. And then next week, we'll start up again with our regular reports. But with a shorter trading week when it comes to the 4th of July holiday, you see very light volume and very small changes in dollar amounts. So we figured it'd be a perfect time to recap the first half of this year. So if you do have questions, make sure you click below and ask them. And if you have any other questions on types of metals, check out our YouTube page. We got lots and lots of things on there. So what's happened in the last 6 months? A lot of things have happened. And when we look at metal prices and overall demand, a lot of things, I'll hop on the AI bandwagon, right? Like, why is AI going to be the thing that we talk about when it comes to demand in the next few years? How is it going to change things? How is it going to increase or decrease prices? So we have a couple of articles that we'll reference in there, but right now it looks like AI could be pushing the copper demand up by 2 million tons within the next 5 to 6 years. And you might say, like, how would something like that happen, right? AI is powered by computers, which are powered by software, which is powered by what? Metals, right? Metals, graphites, silicon, all these different things. And when we look at the demand for artificial intelligence, whether it's through our phones on Siri or through Google voice assistant or through ChatGPT or any of the things that are going to be happening, when we're looking at the markets, they're going to need copper and they're going to need power. So what that AI is going to need is data centers. They're going to need huge buildings filled with lots of computers, and they're not going to be using fiber optic. They're going to be using copper wires. They're more stable, they're faster, and they're better long term. So now you're going to have a lot of data centers being built using lots and lots of copper wires to connect everything. All of the cabinets are going to be full of copper and gold and steel and aluminum, but really we'll focus on copper. Then those buildings need to be cooled. So now you're going to have air conditioners. But where's the power going to come from? So now you're going to need new electrical lines going out to transformers, and then it's going to connect to the grid. But what we're seeing is an increased supply of an increased demand of electricity, not only through artificial intelligence, but also through electric vehicles, increased population, people using more technologies. You think about your house 10 years ago, how many devices were connected to the internet 10 years ago versus today? That number probably multiplied by 3, 4, 5 times the amount. When you think about what copper is going to be needed for, artificial intelligence could also be inside of a thermostat, a smart thermostat, a smartphone, right? Apple has their new Apple AI or whatever they have coming out, and you need this new phone and it has more connectors and probably maybe a little more copper in there, right? And when they go to pull from a server, all this infrastructure is going to have to be built. You're going to need more power plants. You're going to need more power generating activities outside of wind and solar, because they're not going to be able to come online as fast as something like a gas engine or a natural gas plant, right? So copper demand is going to be really, really strong the next few years. When we look at what happened back in the month of May with those crazy prices, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was fun. Right. But that was a blip. That was trading. That wasn't active demands. And what I do think is going to happen the second half of this year with the copper prices is a lot of stability. I try not to go into politics when we talk about our coppers and everything, but we have a presidential election going on. We have 2 vastly different candidates with vastly different approaches to how the country should be run. What starts to shape out when we get into September, October, and then the election is then going to give us a better idea and a better outlook of what's going to happen not the second half of this year, but the first half of 2025. Because if you have a change in administrations, there could be, less restrictions, or if there's not a change in administration, they're going to continue to push the EVs and the solar and the green energy and all of those things, whatever way it goes, is still going to consume copper. And that's why the demand for copper is really going to be so strong the next few years. Now, when I look at other items and other metals last 6 months, steel, super underperforming this year. I'm not impressed with the steel markets, and neither should you be. But do I think they're going up? No. If I did, I'd have piles in my yard, but I don't. I don't think steel prices are going to be moving quickly. During the summer, it's hard to move steel. It's heavy. It uses heat to be able to melt it back down. A lot of furnaces in the United States and across the world will close during these heavy summer months. So what will happen is they'll have buildups and piles outside. Then they'll put their furnaces back on. Then they'll already have a pile, and that demand kind of wanes a little bit until they can eat their pile up and make that new steel. And when we look at other things that are affecting the metals markets, we've talked about this all year long. Auto sales. Forget just EVs, just general auto sales altogether. They all need lots and lots of metal, and those have been underperforming. We've seen new car sales really underperforming in 2024. We've seen electric vehicle sales slipping in 2024, which means that electrification, that clean energy, those green cars going on the road that do need, we talked about this extensively, a heck of a lot more copper. They're not moving off of the dealer lots. So if they're not moving off the lots, does that mean the factories are continuing to produce them? And do they need the demand that's out there? So these are things that really will impact the market, and steel prices are going to be heavily affected by it. Oil, for instance, oil's been at a pretty solid level for all of 2024. But if we see a political change in November, we might start to see pressures on certain Middle East countries where they may start to be handicapped with the oil that they can sell. So we may eliminate 1 to 2 million barrels of oil that's currently being pumped into the world markets. That could increase the prices short term, the first half of 2025. But then we may see a decrease in pricing the second half and then 2026 as the United States may roll back some of their regulations, put some more permits out for more oil and gas pumping on federal lands, and that may decrease the gas price moving forward, which could increase the steel price. So these are things that we look at. So like the last 6 months, very unimpressive. The next 6 months of 2024, I don't expect to see craziness, right? What happened back in May was market manipulations by traders. So I don't count that in the day-to-day normal scrap life, right? But nickel prices continuing to be weak, stainless markets, nothing strong there. I read an article about how they're really trying to integrate nickel into a lot of these hybrid and electric vehicle batteries because there's so much nickel out there. And it's so easily available through countries like Indonesia that are continuing to mine it. But we don't see the demand there right now, and we're not seeing that huge push moving forward. So we just don't know what's going to go on with those prices, because I don't know, they're not moving right now. We've seen that over the last 6 months. Stainless prices really have flatlined. And I probably should have talked about this a few minutes ago, but catalytic converter prices, just like steel and just like auto sales, kind of flatlined themselves this year. We haven't seen any large increases in catalytic converter prices, a couple of jump ups in platinum and palladium prices briefly, but nothing to write home about or to have big alerts going out about. We just haven't seen any of those things. It just hasn't happened right now. So, when we look at the scrap markets, we look at things like consumer growth. Where are the consumers growing? Are they going into new homes? Are they going into new apartment buildings? Are those new homes and new apartment buildings going to need more copper? Are they going to need more steel? Are they going to need more metals? I read another article that we will probably reference that talked about how the wood prices are starting to go down. And you may say, Tom, why does the price of wood matter? Well, if we're starting to see the consumer demand for 2x4s and plywood going down, that may mean that the residential sector is starting to contract because those interest rates are so high. And maybe we are going to start to see a reset in the market next year. I don't know. We may see interest rates dropping down, but we still don't know that until it happens. And a lot can happen from July to September when the next Federal Reserve meeting is. And those interest rates affect all types of things, and metal prices are rolled in there. So it's really a lot of stuff going on. And on top of all of these other things, the demand in China has decreased. They have a lot of material on hand. They don't need as much material, and they've seen consumer products decreasing. The consumer consumption reports that we see have seen consumers having less and less buying. Your credit card bills are higher, and their demand for stuff, more things, is lower. Chinese have seen that, and as one of the biggest, as the biggest importer of copper in the world, they're taking note of that as well. So all of these things are going to contribute to a lot of these prices really being kind of flatlined for the second half of 2024. Flatlined is good. I've said it for years. It's nice having stability. So when you have stability in the markets, that gives you the ability to know what you're going to get, know how much you want to save, what you're holding out for. But by using the iScrap app and checking these reports, it gives you an idea of what's going on outside of the markets that you may not think of, or outside of your local scrapyard. So check the prices, report them, and anything else you have, let us know. But this is a 6-month recap on what happened the first half of this year. Next week, we'll be back with our regular weekly report. Happy birthday to America. I hope that you, your friends, and family have a very happy 4th of July. Until next week, my name is Tom, and I'll scrap you later.
Thanks for watching our video. For $2.99 a month, by becoming a member, you can get access to early videos, member-only videos, merchandise discounts from our store, and priority comments that we answer before answering any other scrappers. Click the link below to learn more. Until next time, scrap you later.